بعض منهم من كلم الله ورفع بعضهم درجات وآتينا عيسى ابن مريم البينات وأيدناه بروح القدس ولو شاء الله ما اقتتل الذين من بعدهم من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات ولكن اختلفوا فمنهم من آمن ومنهم من كفر ولو شاء الله ما اقتتلوا ولكن الله يفعل ما يريد يا أيها الذين آمنوا أنفقوا مما رزقناكم من قبل أن يأتي يوم لا بيع فيه ولا خلة ولا شفاعة والكافرون هم الظالمون الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون ألم تر صدق الله العظيم
Start करो પછી હું અહીંયા બેસી જાઉં આપણે શરૂ કરી દઈએ
Jazakallah brothers, shukriya. Jara aage jaake se aa jaye. Thank you very much to all of you for coming down. May Allah make this majlis beneficial for all of us.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil kareem. Respected brothers, those who are present here, those listening at home or through alternative devices and means at a distance, and our sisters as well, we greet you with the greetings of Islam. Today, Hazrat Dr. Maulana Abdul Raheem Sahab has named this night the Youth Conference Night, and it is particularly targeted toward the youth. And today's session is different to the normal session after Tarawih that Hazrat Maulana provides and sheds gems of his wisdom and knowledge of tafsir of the Holy Quran, of those verses that have been recited in that Tarawih of night. Today, it's more about questions and answers. And Hazrat Maulana's experience and my personal experience is there is a young generation that has a lot of questions about things that are happening around them. They're questioning their faith, they're questioning their role in society, and a lot of issues are coming across, whether it's at school, at colleges, in their professional life, those who are working, where they are expecting some kind of guidance from Islam. And of course, that should be the case because Islam is a way of life. And as a way of life, one should have some kind of guidance. So Hazrat Maulana has received, he announced, please submit your questions. A set of questions have been received. It is not necessary that we will go through this whole list tonight. We've got a few nights to go yet in the holy month of Ramadan, and Shaykh is still with us before he sets off on his travels. And inshallah, we will be going through these questions as best as possible. And there should be a time limit on this session as well, like the time limit for that our young Qari, Sadaqallahul Azim. So inshallah, we will try and sometimes group these questions together because some of them can be grouped together. And these are genuine questions. And one thing in Islam, and that I learned from my student days as well, that one should not be hesitant or embarrassed to ask any question. As-su'alu nisful ilm. If you don't ask, you don't know. If you feel your question is personal, maybe embarrassing for you, then by all means ask in private. There are some questions, by the way, that need to be addressed in private rather than in public. And those that can be addressed in public, well, inshallah, they are generic and good for everybody else to know as well. Inshallah, guidance will be provided. But there are a set of questions that are more private, more independent. And if you have a private, independent question, then you should approach Shaykh or Maulana Safwan or Mufti Noman Sahab when he's around here, etc., to answer your questions, inshallah. So, Shaykh, shall we start? Or shall you start?
No. Inshallah, we'll go over the question together. मैं थोड़ा मैंने कुछ नोट भी किए हैं. पहला सवाल है डॉक्टर साहब, how can we benefit ourselves in the holy month of Ramadan?
Well, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The month of Ramadan is, as we all know, is special in itself. And number one, as an ummah, we have to protect the sacredness of the holy month of Ramadan. Fasting was prescribed to ummahs before us. Sadly, today, when we look at other ummahs, other nations, fasting was prescribed upon them. We learn this from the Quran, but the sacredness of fasting is no longer there. It is no longer a pillar of their calendar year. The idea and concept of fasting no longer is the concept that Allah Rabbul Alameen prescribed for them. So one thing, as an ummah, we have to preserve the sacredness of the holy month of Ramadan. It is that month that Allah has selected for us to fast. How to fast, He has equally shown us with practical demonstration by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Other ummahs, the concept of fasting is to give up something, whether you give up smoking, you give up coffee, you give up tea, you give up a chocolate bar, or you decide to do something in the morning, walk to work or something. That's the idea of fasting that's remained. That's personal interpretation. So Islam has not allowed this. Any ibadah, devotional activity, it's only according to the rules of Sharia. Once you come into Islam, then the rules of Sharia now apply, not personal rules. Number one. That month now is a month of becoming close to Allah Rabbul Alameen. It's the month of the Holy Quran. It's the month of charity. It's the month of compassion and empathy towards those who are less well off. It's that month to become the loved one of Allah and make Allah your loved one. And this is the Holy Quran, the speciality of the Quran. I think you started off on 7th juz today, Sheikh? Ji. So that starts off with when وَإِذَا سَمِعُوا مَا أُنزِلَ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ. When the priests arrived from Abyssinia to Madinatul Munawwara, they heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam reciting the words of the Holy Quran. And those words impacted their hearts so much that they started crying. And the Quran grasps this scene very graphically. And the Quran will impact your heart. And once the Quran touches your heart, your limbs will follow. All the body will now become subservient to the will of Allah Rabbul Alamin. So number one, we need to look after the concept of fasting. We don't want 50 years down the line, Muslims coming, oh, I'm just going to fast till Zuhur time. It's a bit too much this for me. I can't give up my morning coffee. This is a bit too much for me. I need my vape drags every now and then, so I'm going to do this. I can't live without this. That's not the concept of taqwa. The concept of taqwa is we submit absolutely to the will of Allah. And we engage with listening to the Quran, we give to charity and build our own taqwa. And we learn from our mashayikh, listen, read their stories, how much they were able to engage with all of this. Shaykh, if you can add some more, please.
Yeah. How can we benefit ourselves in the month of Ramadan? Number one, Roza, keep properly. Number two, pray Tarawih properly. Number three, avoid sins, all types, major and minor. And number four, do anything good you can. Any zikr, tasbih, tilawat, do something. Keep your tongue busy. لا يزال لسانك رطبا من ذكر الله. Make sure your tongue is fresh with dhikrullah. And number five, follow the sunnah. Study the Ramadan of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam and follow his sunnah. Be like him. Spend your Ramadan like him. Second question, what are three interesting facts of Ramadan?
Wow, three only. Wow. Well, the first interesting fact that we need to fast. Okay, and fast in itself is an independent action, but within that fast, the whole ummah is united. And in the second year of Hijrah, 624, when fasting was institutionalized in Islam, it brought together amongst the Muslim community all Muslim with a sense of values, that what is your relationship to your creator and what is your relationship with other people. So all across the globe, we all fast for the same reason, and we have certain benchmark points, start and finish, where we will fast from and until. So one thing, the unique things about interesting facts about the Ramadan, it's global. And if tomorrow, who is it? Elon Musk decides to live in Mars, and there's a Muslim Jamaat goes to Mars, and people become Muslims on Mars, they will still have to fast. The Prophet ﷺ will still be their Prophet. The Holy Quran will still be the Holy Quran. The Sharia and the Fiqh will still be the Sharia of Islam, because that's until the day of judgment. So wherever we go, it's global, it's universal. Number one. The other interesting thing about Ramadan, in my humble view, is it's the month of the Holy Quran. Our mashayikh, our great mashayikh who used to be great teachers of hadith all year round, they stopped in Ramadan. Everything stopped. And they used to recite 60 times, more than 60 times, 30 times the Holy Quran. In the different voluntary prayers, in Salatul Tarawih, in Sunan Nawafil prayer, it was the month of Ramadan. That was the month of the Holy Quran, because through the Quran, they became closer to Allah Rabbul Alamin. It's the word of Allah. So why would we not become closer to Allah? The other thing, in fact, of Ramadan, is we have the Sunnah Atikaf. And this Atikaf, whether it's 10 days and once our Prophet ﷺ performed 20 days, that you take 5 from the world and you totally focus on your devotional activities. And it is through those ibadah, devotional activities, that one becomes closer to Allah. You just think about it. If I wanted to build my body and I said to Maulana Safwan, please will you go into gym for me? Whose body is going to be built? I mean, he's lean and fit anyway, doesn't need to go. But whose body will be built? Mine or his? So we have to do something. If we find it's a bit of a chore, then something wrong with our mindset, something wrong, we need to get used to it, or we need some kind of a spiritual guide, mentor to guide us on that path. So our personal ibadah, month of the Holy Quran, month of Tarawih, as the Shaykh has already said, and this is special to build your relationship with your Allah. Shaykh, please add.
MashaAllah, Maulana Sahib gave beautiful answer. I would just add that in Ramadan, the interesting thing is, number one, Roza. Number two, Nuzul Quran. Quran was sent down in Ramadan. Number three, Laylatul Qadr is in Ramadan. And also, forgiveness of sins, closeness to Allah, increasing tilawat of Quran Sharif, like Dr. Saab said. 61 khatams of Imam Shafi'i, Imam Abu Hanifa and Mashayikh. So these are the things connected to that. Maulana, isko bhi jaldi jaldi kar deta hu main. What is the purpose of fasting? Hazrat Maulana Dr. Sahab has just mentioned la'allakum tattaqoon, taqwa. We fast so that we can gain taqwa. Allah said it, la'allakum tattaqoon in Quran Sharif. So who better to tell us why we fast? And number two, train ourselves. You have to go for training, like Dr. Sahab mentioned, gym, exercise. So we have to do some fitness training. So Ramzan Roza is for fitness training. It's for your diet. You can get your body back in shape. We eat too much throughout the year, so we can control our diet and get back into shape. And number three, third reason we say is that when we fast and we are hungry and we feel that hunger and thirst, we think about those who are hungry throughout the world. We will get food at the end of the day at iftar time. There are some people whose iftari will never come. They will never get the time opportunity to iftar because they're hungry. Look in Somalia, Sudan, that areas, Yemen, right? There's not been rain for nearly 5 years in Ethiopia and Sudan, and people are dying of hunger. So we have to think of them and do whatever we can, give sadaqah charity for them. This is the purpose of fasting. What can we achieve from the holy month of Ramadan? Again, qurb of Allah, strength to avoid sin. And we can avoid sins throughout the year after that. When we get that taqwa, we get that energy, our battery is charged, we can avoid sins. And we can feel happy that Allah made something farz upon me and I've done my farz duty. I can control my nafs and ego. This is what we get from the fasting of Ramadan. Proximity, closeness to Allah, the strength to stay away from sins and controlling our nafs, and the compassionate nature, compassion, feeling for the less fortunate around the world. You can add to that also.
The biggest thing you will find in your holy month of Ramadan is why is it that you cannot perhaps open the Holy Quran outside the month of Ramadan, yet you can finish the Quran inside the month of Ramadan? Why is it that you're able to not withstand a long qira'at in Isha outside of Ramadan, but inside Ramadan you're able to listen for 1.25 hours? The words of the Holy Quran, you may not understand a word of it. So you yourself will feel that closeness, and that is the blessing of your fast. And that blessing is actually, the fast is actually a preparation for you. The preparation is to receive the nur of Allah in the words of the Quran. And that is actually molding your heart. And fasting itself, like salat, is something that brings people together. It develops unity. How many families come together for the month of Ramadan? They're together at the time of iftar. Some even perform their maghrib together. Some even perform in the huffaz within the family, the Tarawih together. It's a sense of unity, bringing the family together. The original purpose of social unity and social bondage.
Next question is, what is the purpose of 5 times salat? Why do we have to pray 5 times a day?
Wow. Imagine if you had to pay 50, what would the question be? 5 times inna salat ala al-mu'minina kitabahum. The fasting has been prescribed by Allah. That's the one thing. And sorry, we're talking about prayers now. Salat. Salat, by the way, is not just for the Muslim community. It was for before communities as well. We learn about Yahya alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, and other prophets who had their Musa alayhi salam. You know the famous hadith that I had 50 and we had problems. 5, what is your ummah going to do? Go back. So we know that this is like fasting. This is not a PLC for the Muslim community. This was also for other communities. If you look at the postures that we adopt in salah, we stand, we bow, and we prostrate. And within salah, we recite the Quran. We have wadha'if of glorification of Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, At-Tahiyyat. All this is glorification of Allah. This is awrad wadha'if. So within this, if you did your salah properly, the benefit would be tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. It will stop you and me from inclining towards wretchedness and evil, bad doings outside of salah. That's the power of salah. The salatu mi'rajul mu'min. It's the journey of uplifting the soul and having a union with Allah Rabbul Alameen in salah. So that's what salah is. As for 5 times a day, Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Ashraf Ali Thanvi Sahib Rahmatullahi alayhi is the master of all of this. Allah, we were so blessed to have so many mashayikh like this in our ummah. He would explain 5 times a day, we have an alarm clock at our head that's a supreme being has a right over you. When you wake up, after daybreak, you wake up, Allah has a right over you. And He's given you a window for that 10-minute, 5-minute salat of Fajr to make that. At midday, just after the sun has dipped from its zenith, its highest point, Allah has a right over you. In early evening, Allah has a right over you. At sunset, Allah has a right over you. Before you go to sleep, Allah has a right over you. 5 times a day, Allah has punctuated your day to remember there is a right of the Supreme Being, because at every moment of that day, you are living your life because of His favors. So, and that salah is all a reminder of Allah's bounties and blessings upon you, and this is a form of gratitude. And think about it. Salat is with Jama'at more meritorious. When the early Muslims used to come together in the masjid, they were unifying. They were already united by Aqidah. For 12 years, 10 years, Prophet ﷺ united by Aqidah. Tawheed, Risalat, Akhirat. And then Salat came. Everybody used to come together and they became more united. With Sawm and Zakat, they became more united. So that is the purpose behind Salah, that number one, you have an independent individual responsibility to be grateful to Allah for every moment of your life. And 5 is prescribed by Prophet ﷺ as instructed by Allah Rabbul Alameen. And things you pray in the Salah are from Allah directly.
Thank you very much. Very nice answer. Just to add to that, Salat is ibadat and it is ita'at, and Allah is the supreme legislator. Allah has given us this command of praying. So we are doing ibadat, ita'at of Allah. And remember, Allah doesn't need our ibadat. We need Allah through our ibadat. Inshallah, with our salat 5 times a day, Allah will give us Jannah. We will bring in our hearts the love and muhabbat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is why Allah said in Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas u'budu rabbakum, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ruk'u wasjudu wa'budu rabbakum waf'alul khair la'allakum tuflihun. रुकू करो, सिद्धा करो और नेक काम करो ताकि तुम कामयाब हो जाओ. तो ये नमाज का मकसद कामयाब होना, सक्सेसफुल हो जाना, अल्लाह की इबादत करके अल्लाह को खुश करना. जी डॉक्टर, सॉरी. How is Hadith Sharif relevant to us when he's talking about things from 1400 years ago?
Allahu Akbar. Is it talking about things that happened 1400 years ago? The question is assuming everything in Hadith is historical. It is not. There are statements of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Hadith that is informing us of things to happen before the end of time. Signs that are already, we see minor signs of the Day of Judgment. Major signs that will come about Dajjal, about the Antichrist, about Imam Mahdi, about the destruction of the Kaaba, about the animal coming out, about social corruption within the world, about behavior patterns. All this has been predicated by Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the question itself is actually indicating that whoever has provided the question is unaware of the breadth and range of the knowledge that is in the Hadith sciences. Number one. Number two, the Quran itself is saying, In kuntum tuhibbun Allah fattabi'uni. If you want to love Allah, then love the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whoever wishes to be obedient to Allah needs to be obedient to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And without the Quran, to be very honest, without the Hadith, you're not going to understand the Quran. We will not know how to perform Salatul Isha without the Hadith. Quran provides broad guidelines, principles. Those broad guidelines need detail. It also requires practical demonstrations. Those practical demonstrations and those guidelines, detail is provided by hadith statement. This is why the ulama of hadith would say that the Quran is more in need of the hadith than the hadith in need of the Quran. Because we simply do not have within the Quran that level of detail by which we could carry out our life. Quran is saying, give zakat. How much do I give? When do I give? On what things is there zakat on? Quran is saying, perform your salah. Okay, it giving me a guidelines when to perform salah. It's telling me I should be bowing down and prostrating. What does that mean? What should I read in my salah? What happens if I do something wrong? When do I know I'm doing something wrong? All of this is from hadith. So it is not simply a question of 1400 years ago. The hadith is relevant today and will remain relevant after another 1,000 years as it was 1400 years ago. Because now Hazrat Maulana mentioned one very important word a few minutes ago, legislator. Just like Allah Rabbul Alameen is sole legislator. When Allah has decided, that's it. Nobody can now say, okay, we're going to have 3 salat or 2 salat. Okay. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, equally he's referred to as Shari alayhi salam, also a legislator, but only in those matters where we don't have something from Allah Rabbul Alameen. So the hadiths are very relevant today, and please be careful as you go progress in your careers, or as you grow from school to college to universities, you will come across people who do not believe hadith as a source of reference for Islam. And these people are referred to as the people of the Quran because they only believe the Quran to be the valid source and primary source of Islam. There's no arguing that. But the Quran is not the only source. That's what we have to be careful of. There is a whole, what we call in posh English, epistemology, theory of knowledge. Where does Islam get its knowledge from? Quran, hadith, and equally the consensus of the ulama and their process. So all of this is very important. Hadith is relevant, was 1400 years ago, relevant today, and will still remain relevant 1400 years down the line. Sheikh, please add some more.
First, you said enough, Dr. Saab. Hadith is relevant today as it was 1400 years ago. Right? Because hadith is amali tafsir of Quran, practical tafsir of Quran. Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained it, and his explanation is needed today as well. And we have to remember Quran and hadith are both everlasting. They will live till the day of Qiyamah. Nobody can change the Quran, nobody can change the hadith. We need hadith sharif. So don't say it's not relevant. It is relevant. It is relevant. Look at us, our lives, alhamdulillah, Maulana Sahab, Dr. Sahab, doing everything, studying, teaching, going to university, but still holding on to the libas, holding on to the values of deen, holding on to the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, progressing and moving forward. So don't think that hadith is not relevant today. Hadith is as relevant as it was 1400 years ago, same today as well. Next question, how can I get married without getting to know my spouse beforehand? Nowadays, I see lots of arranged marriages end in divorce and abuse situations. What is that?
This is an interesting question. At the heart of it, the person who has lodged the question is looking at society around us. What we need to understand, there is social behavior, how people behave in any time of society. That will change. How UK behaved, if you look, for example, there is a picture available of Bolton Dean's Gate. It should be available on the net. Dean's Gate, going right down to the bottom, if you see a picture of that, you will see the dress code of everybody very different to what you may see of Dean's Gate today. 100 years ago. Fast forward 100 years, wallahu alam what the state of Dean's Gate is going to be. But there is social behavior. Social behavior changes. Just because social behavior changes, and people, arranged marriages, by the way, wasn't something just Islamic. It was in other cultures. It was including in British culture, in the royal family as well. There's nothing new. Just because society begins to behave in a different way doesn't mean to say you lose your set of values with what has come from your faith system. And nothing is stopping you, by the way, to behave like that. Nevertheless, there is recognition within Islam, lam tura lil mutahabbaini mislan niqah. That at the end of the day, Islam has great emphasis on protection of lineage, hifzun nasab, protection of lineage. And if you want to engage in a marital relationship and you have an inclination, shall I say, I'm being careful with my choice of words, towards somebody else, then Islam is saying nikah. And the world has seen until now perhaps more arranged marriages than non-arranged marriages. And the statistic that just because people are ending up in divorce, then that way of choosing a spouse must be faulty. Behavior expectations have gone so high, aspirations have gone so high. Some people are just having a fight because I don't like the toothpaste you're using. So the whole purpose of marriage is, where is your ego going in all of this? The Islamic teachings in Kitabun Nikah, chapters of Nikah, whether we'll do in Hadith books or fiqh books, there is a whole set of guidance. Perhaps what needs to happen now is what happens in Malaysia, Sheikh, is you have a 2-week course before you come to Nikah. If you don't pass that course, you're not having your Nikah.
Subhanallah. We'll have to start something here, inshallah.
Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Bilal Sahab, Hafizahullah, I know he's been advocating this for a very long time. Hazrat Maulana Bilal Sahab, Sheikh, and my humble self, we did a program 5-6 years ago, Sheikh, about the family unit in Zakaria Masjid. You remember? And I remember then Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Bilal Sahab said there should be guidance on this issue for the very same reason that this brother or sister has highlighted, that there's so many breakages or for issues, and then there needs to be some kind of guidance beforehand. So that's why in Malaysia, I know of a good friend of mine, a Sudani Sheikh in London. He performs nikah, but he says, if you want me to perform nikah, you will have to come to me for 2 weeks beforehand. And he gives them a 1 hour of his time every single day, and he takes them through the boy, not the girl, by the way, everything, A to Z. What is the Islamic responsibility? What was the prophetic role model in all of this thing, and how to behave very maturely about this. So part of the issue is we can't just look at society and think, okay, the problem is this. Where is our education in all of this? Islam has placed social responsibility. Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa. Most of the masajid who perform in 1/4 juz, 1 1/4 juz, had the ayat to the Ar-rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa. The man is responsible. Now, if people are not shouldering up or stepping up to their responsibilities, then there's going to be breakage somewhere. So there is a lot to be learned about this thing. Sheikh will add more here, his more experience.
I would like to ask this question. What do you mean by not knowing the person beforehand?
A good question, yes.
Tell me, explain to me. How do you want to know him?
Her.
Or her? No. There is, Islam allows you to get to know one another. Mughira ibn Shu'bah radiallahu anhu came and said, I want to marry a girl from Ansar. And the Nabi Pak sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, go and have a look at her. Sit down, have a chat with her. And you know, when you in another hadith, when you want to marry someone, فَانْظُرْ إِلَيْهَا فَإِنَّهُ أَحْرَىٰ أَنْ يُقْدَمَ بَيْنَكُمَا. If you see one another, then this will create more familiarity and love among you. So in arranged marriages, we don't just, throw you on the deep side of the swimming pool. No, you sit down together, get to know one another, talk to one another. When you have that likeness, that suitability, that compatibility, then you take things forward. So Islam doesn't say just marry anyone on the road and start living with them. No, you get to know them first. And we have guidance from our Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is that look at 2 things. Deenahu wa khuluqahu. Look at the deen of the other person and look at his akhlaq, his behavior, his interaction with his friends or her friends. what they say about him or her. If they are okay, good, mashallah, deen is good, praying 5 times namaz, hijab, whatever you want, that's enough. Then just get married. Don't look for other things. And what you said about, marriage breakups. So I'd like to ask you, do love marriages not break up? Love marriages break up more than arranged marriages. So keep that in perspective as well. You have to move on because lots of questions. There are 50 questions. We're only on number 10 now. Can you give us some advice on protection from devils and jinns?
What was the thing?
Jinnat or shaitan se hifazat ke liye. Number 1, stay clean. Because shaitan, jinnat like dirt. So if you stay unclean, napa, ganda, house is dirty, everything is dirty, your clothes are dirty, body is dirty, then jinns and shaitan will come closer to you. Number 2, pray 5 times a day. When you pray, shaitan runs away. Number 3, make du'as for protection. And number 4, read mu'awwizat morning and evening. Mu'awwizat are Surah Ikhlas, Surah Falaq, and Surah Nas. And Ayatul Kursi. If you read these, shaitan will stay away from you. And whenever you feel something, effects or something, just read these and blow on your palms, both palms, and then pass them over your body. Ask Allah for hifazat. Rabbi a'udhu bika min hamazati shayateen wa a'udhu bika rabbi in yahdurun. Allah will protect you, inshallah. So these are. And if it's very bad, you are affected by jinn, then read Manzil. Manzil is a small booklet. Nabi Pak Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam read those ayat and then blew on someone and all his jinn, bhoot, jadoo, whatever, everything went away. So Manzil is very effective for that.
Yes, and when you're going to the washroom, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubusi wal khaba'is. These are du'as of Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, and these are really very priceless du'as.
Can you give me any dua to make me handsome?
I wish I knew. I wish I knew.
This is a real question, huh? This is a real question. It came on our website. Okay.
Oh, look.
Can I say something more first? Number 1, first of all, be content with the way Allah has created you. All right? Never object on your looks and features. Why Allah made me like this? I wanted to be like this. Allah made you how He wanted to make you. So be happy. Alhamdulillah. Ashkurulillah. Allah made me. Allah created me. Allah could not have created me. Allah gave me existence. Allah gave me all this opportunity. Allah gave me deen, iman, Islam, ihsan. Allah's ni'mat. Think about Allah's other ni'mat. Don't just focus on your looks. Number 1. And number 2, remember, there is a hadith in Mishkat Sharif. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the creation and He brought them out of the back of Adam alayhi salam, He allowed Adam alayhi salam to look at them. And Adam alayhi salam looked at them. There were various colors, various shapes, various bodies, able, disabled, or good health, not good health. So Adam alayhi salam said, Ya Allah, why did you not make them all equal and the same? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ahbabtu an ushkara. So that people can do my shukr. A person who is good looking, who is able, who's well off, can look at the other person who's not so good, not so well off, not so able, and do shukr of Allah ka shukr. Ki Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept me healthy, Allah made me like this. Otherwise, we would not understand shukr. When you only do shukr when you are deprived of something, right? You have lots of things in your house. But when something goes missing and you're desperate for it, that's when you realize how important this thing is to me. That's when you say, Allah, tera shukr mil gayi musko. So you have to remember this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made various types of people so we can look at one another, maybe do shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the way Allah has made us. And point number 3, if you really want to look good, and then Hazrat Sufi Tahir Sahib mentioned this dua, when you look in the mirror, read, Allahumma anta hassanta khalqi fahassin khulqi. Allah, you have made my looks beautiful, make my akhlaq beautiful as well. And this is a form of shukr, that you are doing shukr of Allah on the way you look, however you look, whatever you are, however you are. And because of that shukr, Allah will increase your beauty, make you more handsome. And number 5, Peer Zulfiqar Sahib mentioned that, you know, when a person goes in sujood, his head is lower than the heart. And the heart pumps the blood more on the head rather than when it's above. So if you do long sajda, there will be more blood in your face and your cheeks will become red like tomato. So you do long sajdas and you will look good, you will become beautiful. This is another thing. Do lots of namaz, pray lots of namaz. Allah will make you look beautiful, inshallah. And do wuzu properly, wash your face properly. Wuzu gets rid of all the dirt, makes you look good as well.
Can I just add, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What one person's beauty is another person's non-beauty. You all know the famous story of Qais bin Mulawwah, otherwise known as Majnun, and his beloved Layla. The beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. We need to understand this. We can't just, what's happening nowadays is people are looking at surface things and, okay, this is appealing, this is not appealing. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his face was so radiant, the Sahaba could not distinguish it from, is the moon, the 14th moon, when it waxes more brighter, more beautiful, or the face of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But yet still his whole life was an emphasis on his internal attributes being good. That he did not fall material wealth. The hadith, Inna Allah la yanzuru ila suwarikum walaki yanzuru ila qulubikum. That Allah Rabbul Alamin does not look at your faces, He looks at what's inside you. We need to understand, this is not to say we don't look after ourselves or do not keep ourselves neat and tidy. That is a different matter. But as far as the surface external beauty being the benchmark of understanding handsomeness, that's not the method within the Islamic teachings. Character is the real beauty, and when the original beauty fades away, the character shines. There's a Arab poet says, "Kunibna man shi'ta waqtasib adaba, yughnika mahmuduhu anid nasabi. Laysal fata man yakulu kana abi, innal fata man yakulu ha anaza." You can be the son of whoever you wish, but the excellent character will be the thing that will give you your name. And it's no use claiming I am the son of so and so, I am the daughter of so and so. If you have good character, people will not want to know who your father is, will not want to know you. It's the internal beauty that we should really be prioritizing over external beauty.
Many mashayikh were not good looking. They are our shuyukh. Hazrat Bilal Habshi radiyallahu anhu, Sulaiman Amash, he was one-eyed and he was not so good looking. But people were attracted to him because he was muhaddis and he used to teach lots of hadith. Someone is called A'raj, someone is called A'ma, but they are our mashayikh. So it's like Dr. Saab said, the internal beauty, your friendliness, your lovable approach, your sense of humor is what attracts other people. Don't look at the outer beauty, external beauty. Look at the internal beauty. Okay, we have to move on. 13. How can I be a means of good and pious company for others? Meaning, how can I be such that people are attracted to me and I can be a good company and pious company for them?
In my view, it's quite easy. If you want to be a safe driver, you're going to take a set of lessons to pass, first of all. If you want to be a person of good character, you're going to have to spend time under somebody's tutelage and mentorship to become that good person by who others will see your point of reference. If you look at every sheikh of history of our Mashayikh Chishtiya, Naqshbandiya, Sahrawardiya, any other Sufi tradition, they have spent time with their sheikh. And it was that nurturing, that mentoring that made them.
Jazakallah. We move on. If someone mixes a lot of normal water with Zamzam water, does all of it become Zamzam?
Barakat mil gayi.
What's that? Dr. Saab given the answer. That there will be barakat, inshallah, but you can't class it all Zamzam. Some ulama say, if Zamzam is more and normal water is less, then you can categorize it as Zamzam. But if Zamzam is only 1 glass and the whole bottle 2 liter is normal water, it can't be Zamzam. He might get a little bit of barakat in there, like when you do dam after Surah Fatiha, you get a bit of barakat in there, but there'll be barakat in there, but it won't be totally zamzam. Number 15. What is the best way to get closer to pious people? Ulama, mashayikh, how can you get closer to them? Majlis mein baithe, bayan sune, zikr mein baithe. Barabar, Dr. Sahab?
But the other thing, what do you want? Do you want to be closer to them? You have to want this. If I read the stories of my Shaykh Hazrat Aqtas Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab and his first engagement with Qutub al-Aqtab was a Shaykh Nawar Allahu Barakatuh. They wanted to be closer. The students in Darul Berry, we saw, I witnessed myself, Hazrat was a testimony as well. They wanted to be close to Hazrat. What is your want? Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, before he became the subject of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam's dua, he wanted some kind of guidance. So first of all, you need to want something. Allah Rabbul Alamin will pave a way for you.
What is your opinion on Islamic University of Medina? Salafism and stuff. Do you really want to know my opinion? Really? My opinion? Well, they have a set standards by which they go. Certain beliefs and aqidah. Some things we agree with, other things we don't agree. Well, we don't have to agree with everything. We have to agree to disagree. If you want to go and study there, that's why you're asking this question, then I would say become an alim, scholar first. So you know everything, your basic aqaid, furu'i masail, a'mal, and your dalail and everything. And then you go there, then you won't lose track. But if you're just a normal layman and you go there studying, then you're just going to go off track. फिर उनके अकीदे और बिलीफ और अमल और प्रैक्टिस सब उसका रंग चढ़ जाएगा. इसलिए they have a certain way of doing things. We might agree with certain things, not agree with other things, but this would be our advice if you are thinking of going to study there. Study in some Darul Uloom over here, know your deen properly first, and then when you have proper firm knowledge of it, then you may go there. ठीक है हम सब? Not something?
No. I think it's not just a question of going off to, which is it? Islamic University of Medina, it's Islamic University of Malaysia, Islamic University somewhere else, any university, anywhere you're going to go, you'll be faced with challenges. You need to know what is your value system end of the day. And either you stay in contact with somebody who's going to nurture you, mentor you, guide you, or either you constantly read the works of the mashayikh and how they were able to hold firm straight. And if there is a question, then what is the correct viewpoint here? That's equally needed. Turn to Shaykh or whatever for some guidance on this thing. Ji.
Is KFC halal if they show HFA certificate? You know what people think today? That as long as it's not pork, it's halal. Really, they just go any KFC, McDonald's, they eat anything, everything. They say, as long as it's not pork, bacon, I'm all right. That mentality is wrong, my friend. وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يُذْكَرِ اسْمُ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ. Do not eat from that animal upon which Allah's name is not taken at the time of slaughter. If Bismillah Allahu Akbar is not said, don't eat that animal. So, in a short nutshell, just avoid KFC, right? And rather than HFA, stick to HMC. Okay, that is 100%. You can say with confidence that their monitors are there. They monitor everything, check everything, and then that chicken or meat goes to the shop. So better to stay safe than sorry. Look, one haram morsel, if it goes down, is going to affect your spirituality. Your du'as will not be accepted. So be careful. كل لحم نبت من سحت فالنار أولى به. So just avoid KFC or don't go. Choose go.
Sheikh, can I just add this? The way an animal is slaughtered. We just had this ayat today that you in the 8th juz. Don't eat something that has not been slaughtered in the name of Allah. Why is that important in Islam? The science behind all of this is Allah Rabbul Alameen instructed the Prophet ﷺ, an animal needs to be slit in a certain way. You have two veins on either side here. Okay, all of you. Those who are going to the gym and you're pulling the weights and you say, "Argh!" you will see these two veins. Okay, and that is taking the blood to the brain or from back down, from the heart to the brain or back down. Islam's system is, if that blood is not taken out of the animal's body, those animals that we can eat, non-predatory animals, then that blood remains inside, and that blood carries toxins, and those toxins are not good for your health. Certain meat is not good for you, that's why we can't eat it. Then the way it's slaughtered is to drain the blood out. And to drain the blood out, that can only be done in the way Allah has prescribed. And HFA method, Halal Food Authority method, is more towards a path that is different to HMC, that every single one needs to be Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and that blood needs to be slit in a certain way. There's 4 veins or 3 veins or 2 veins, and then you have agreements to some differences of opinion. But once that blood is released, who is most careful in that procedure being followed as the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ? And the closest, and I looked at all of this in great detail many years ago, in order to have HMC provided in schools across Lancashire and across Greater Manchester, and across for Bolton School as well. Okay, so the procedure, HMC at the moment is taking the best care of possible, and the whole process for all this is. Now, the other way is they're using current to slow down or killing of the animal, because it's painful, because this is seen as more barbaric, this way of slaughter. Number one, that method that the Prophet ﷺ or the Quran has provided is not barbaric. If it's implemented incorrectly, then it becomes barbaric. Number one. So there are rules and regulations, but we need to understand the way Islam has prescribed is good for our health and our own piety.
Sunblock cream. Will my wuzu count if I have sunblock cream on my face? Again, you want to look handsome. Well, if you go sunblock cream, sometimes there's thick layers of it, right? Like when you put mehndi on, and you have the thick layer of mehndi. So if there is thick layer of it, then the water will not touch the skin and wuzu will not be counted. But if there's no layer of it, and it's just like oil, olive oil or Vaseline, then Vaseline or olive oil does not prevent the water from touching the skin. So in that case, your wuzu will be counted. So you have to check how you've applied it, in what amount you've applied it. Is there a layer or not? If there is layer, wuzu not counted. No layer, wuzu counted.
It's enough.
Reward money. My bank offers reward money when bills are paid direct debit. Is this allowed to take? I asked Sufi and he said, अगर पैसे रखना शर्त न हो तो जायज है, वरना नहीं. Meaning, if your bank does not condition that you have to keep some money inside your account and for your direct debit to be paid, then perhaps that reward money, a little bit, few pounds could be okay. But if they keep that condition, which normally is the case, then you're not allowed to take that reward money. Just give it out to some poor person somewhere. Zakat is not specific to Ramadan. It is an independent worship to be discharged at its appointed time. My question is, why do most Muslims only give zakat during Ramadan? Surely not everyone's zakat anniversary can be on the 1st of Ramadan. It feels as though we have not been educated about it early in our lives. बोलेंगे और सब कुछ कि मैं कह दूं?
Go ahead. बोलो.
अच्छा, इसका भी I made मशवरा with Sufi Sahib. Sufi Sahib said, you are right. You know, zakat should be given by various people throughout the year. Someone giving in Ramadan, others giving Shawwal, others giving Sha'ban, others giving Muharram, Safar, Rabiul Awwal, according to lunar calendar, so that the gharib and miskins in your area can have some money all the time throughout the year. That is correct. What you mentioned there is correct. But why people give Ramzan, zakat in Ramzan is, number one, it's easy for them to remember that anniversary date. And number two, people feel that there is more sawab for giving zakat in Ramzan because one farz in Ramzan is multiplied 70 times. So this is right, correct. However, sometimes sawab increases based on necessity. If there is a disaster somewhere or someone has had an accident and is really in need and you help them at that time, then that gets more sawab than giving zakat in Ramzan. Man aghatha malhufan kataballahu lahu salatan wa sab'ina maghfiratan ila akhirih. Whoever rushes to the aid of a distressed person, Allah will give him 73 maghfirat, rahmat, and hasanat. One will be enough for his dunyavi affairs and 72 will raise his ranks in Jannah. So you can give zakat throughout the year. Perhaps you can calculate and keep some and slowly give it out in however way you can. Do you want to have something to say?
I think it's already said. The idea behind zakat, it's a social concern, social obligation. And the idea of the poor people having some kind of looking after throughout the year is exactly what Sufi Sahib is saying. That it's best that different people have different years, but like Sheikh said, it's more meritorious, more rewarding in the holy month of Ramadan. And of course, we are greedy for reward. That's why we do it in Ramadan.
As part of my contract, my company is able to provide me with medical cover. They charge me £55 a month from my wage. I have not opted into the scheme, but they will still charge me if I decide to opt in or out. Will this be permissible to take out? Do you have a choice? No. Your company is taking out anyway. You can't opt in or out, right? So your money is already going £55. You might as well take the medical cover. Take the medical cover. NHS is in a crisis at the moment anyway. Doctors don't want to see you. You can't get an appointment. So you'll have to go private at some stage. So UK is becoming like US. Everybody is on private medical cover. Maybe you have to go at some time on private. So take the medical cover out, no problem.
So what will happen if this person is paying £55 a month, not willingly, but then falls ill? Will that person now take the medical help offered through the company in private because of that £55?
He is allowed to take it.
He will be the first in the queue because he needs it. There is no masla then.
No, day to day, it's becoming so hard. So we have said we can't be strict on this masla anymore.
Sahi.
We have to give people the flexibility, take the medical cover out. Some money has been given from friends and family towards my child who's 4 years old, which we have saved up over the last year. Will we need to pay zakat on this? No, you don't need to pay zakat on it. Because the money is for your 5-year-old, 4-year-old child. It's not yours, right? And there is no zakat on the mal and of a small child until he becomes baligh. Okay, when he becomes baligh, he understands masail, then 1 year passes by, then there will be zakat on that. It's not your money, you're only caretaker, you're only saving it for the child. You don't own it, he owns it. And there's no namaz on a child, namaz is not farz on a child, zakat is not farz on a child. So his money, you don't need to give zakat on it. Okay? Can nikah and walima take place on the same day? Does there need to be khalwat sahiha before the walima?
Okay. We went to one. Only.
Sikandar. Malana Sikandar. Nikah and walima can be done in the same day. Okay? And khalwat sahiha is necessary. Although walima is normally after jima. And that is the normal case. But if they do khalwat sahiha and they, sit together in one place, kissing, hugging, whatever, then after that, walima will be okay, it will be a classical walima. Hazrat Maulana Rashid Ahmad Gangohi Rahmatullah says, if the dulhan comes to the dulhaniya's house and they go in their bedroom and spend some time together, then whatever you feed after that can be classed as walima. So you don't have to do walima the next day, like nikah on Saturday and walima on Sunday. You can do both on the same day, provided the dulha and the dulhan, they get time together for a little while, and then whatever food you feed will be classed as walima. What is the difference between riya and waswasa of riya? Another question. Riya and waswasa of riya.
Niyat.
Riya is reality, haqiqat, and waswasa is only a khiyal, thought. And khiyal and waswasa is not mu'tabar. There's no i'tibar of that. So riya means ostentation, showing off. Showing off is reality. When you do something to show off to people, show off can be in namaz as well. Like show off can be from the imam as well. If I read Quran Sharif and I say, I want to show people, I do lehja, so I want to show off to people, that's riya. That I won't get sawab for that. I will be punished for that riya and showing off to people. So, riya is haqiqat, reality. But the thought of riya, waswasa, has no reality. Just ignore it. If the thought comes and goes, you won't be held to account for it, because these types of thoughts come and go. Allah doesn't take us to account for it. You see, thoughts just come and go. Don't pay attention. Just keep doing what you're doing, and riya will go away, inshallah. Okay. What is the Islamic ruling on delaying rukhsati after nikah? Similar to one question above. Okay. Hazrat, jawab de do iska?
De do, bismillah.
If, you know what they say in Urdu, Miyan biwi razi to kya kare qazi? Miyan biwi razi to kya kare qazi? So if they are both happy on delaying that, then Shariat will not say it's jaiz or na jaiz. Shariat will not interfere in that. However, we will have to look at other perspectives as well. There is a risk of the nikah breaking if we delay the rukhsati, consummating the marriage after nikah. Because many times breakups happen. Many times when it's delayed, the dulha starts relationship with someone else. He starts looking for someone else, and things break up. And also another very important point, which I always make in nikah bayans, is that keeping a huge gap like 6 months or a year between the nikah and the rukhsati and living together, keeping this gap is khilafe sunnah, is against sunnah. Do you want to start your married life against sunnah? Huzur Akram sallallahu alaihi wasallam did 11 nikahs. Only one nikah delays rukhsati, Hazrat Aisha. Otherwise, all nikah rukhsati fawran. And 1400 years of Islamic history says that this was jat mangni pat riya pat rukhsati. That's how it should be. That's the sunnah way of doing things. Therefore, please, please, please don't do this by doing nikah now, rukhsati after 1 year. If you're doing nikah now, rukhsati now. If you're not doing rukhsati now, don't do nikah now. Do nikah when you're going to do rukhsati. Keep it together. That is the sunnah way of doing the nikah. Manas, you want to say something? Okay. Can husband and wife pray Jamaat together even though you need 2 baligh men to complete Jamaat? What niyyah should he make? Hani, ये कोई सुस्त husband लगता है. He doesn't want to come to the masjid. He wants to do Jamaat with his wife. And he get 27 times more sawab. अरे भाई चक्कर कहीं का मस्जिद चल कर आनी, एक कदम पर सवाब मिलेगा. For every कदम, every step you take, you get sawab. But nevertheless, if you are unable to, or you just come back from work and you missed your Jamaat, right, and you want to do Jamaat with your wife, yes, you can do Jamaat with your wife. Our Hazrat Maulana Islamullah Sahib Rahmatullah Alayhi, which are a very elderly person, sometimes he used to do Jamaat at home with Khala and the other ladies of the household, because he didn't want to pray alone. So he would do sometimes Jamaat with the ladies of the household. So you can do Jamaat with your wife. And this, you said 2 baligh men are necessary. That's not right. This is not for normal Jamaat. This is for Jummah Jamaat, where you need minimum 3 people with the Imam. So for normal Jamaat, you can have 1 person behind you. You can have your wife behind you as well. She will have to stay behind. She can't stand by your side. You have to have a large room where the husband is ahead and the wife is behind. Like Imam is ahead and people are behind. If she is side by side, or if any part of her body in sajda goes to the side of the husband in sujood, then the salah will not be counted. She has to be fully behind the Imam, then the Jamaat will be rust, and inshallah, hopefully, the husband will get little bit of sawab of Jamaat.
Yeah, that's good.
Is women only Jamaat permissible? Answer is makruh. Women only ladies doing Jamaat. If only ladies, like some girl is Hafiza and she wants to lead Tarawih for the household, she can leave, but it's makruh to do that. Okay, and if she does that, she won't be standing ahead of the ladies, she'll be standing in the middle. That is the masla. Anu, Karim, what's up? What is your response to liberal modernist Muslims?
I think it's not just a question. What is a liberal Muslim? What is a modernist Muslim? You have to ask these questions. A Muslim is a Muslim. There's no such thing as a liberal Muslim or modern Muslim. You are following the Quran, you are following the Hadith, you are following the Sharia. You are a Muslim. These words have come in after people decided that there's something will be worldly knowledge and something will be religious knowledge, where there was a split in knowledge. There's no such thing in Islam. In where you have a idea where the human intelligence is far superior for na'uzu billah than the Holy Quran and the words of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, you disagree with that idea of looking at things. There is no such thing as a liberal and a modern. People have some, shall we say, views which are against the core views of Islam, then those are to be disagreed with. You have your right to disagree.
You know, Hazrat Maulana, the other day I saw this tweet, very nice. Said that, you know, the Kharijis, Khawarij, they drive people out of the borders of Islam for no reason, and they say kafir, 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 he's kafir, she's kafir, he's kafir, he's kafir. So they drive people out of the borders of the Islam. And liberal modernist Muslims don't have any borders at all. They say everything is alright. That's the difference between the two. So we just say, no, we have to have our values. Islam, Sharia, Qanun, we have to go by that. Okay, next question, what's up, is personal answer. If the person comes, we'll answer that. Number 32. If it is in my taqdeer to sin, is there then this concept of free will? You know, I put this question to Sufi Sahib. Sufi Sahib said, tell them that taqdeer is from mutashabihat. Don't delve into it. And just remember, Allah has given us free will, and Allah will take us to account based on that free will and how we use that free will. You know, one of my grandsons once asked me that if our destination, Jannat, or is decided, then why do we have to work for Jannat? So I asked him counter question, right? Is your rizq decided or not? How much rizq you going to get, right? If your rizq is decided, then why do you go to work? Don't go to work, stay home, right? Allah Pak has decided how much rizq you're going to get, how much money you're going to get, but you still go to work. Similarly, your Jannat is decided, but you still have to work for the Jannat. So just understand this. You have free will, use that free will properly, and Allah will give you Jannat, inshallah. Is slavery allowed in Islam?
Abolished.
Slavery, Islam did not start slavery. Slavery was there before Islam. And Islam tried its best to abolish and wipe out that slavery. Mufti Shafi Sahib has written in Ma'ariful Quran that if the whole world gets together on abolishing slavery, they sign on it, Muslims to sign on it and abolish it. This is something. Number two, I would like to ask, what is the concept of a slave? What is the definition of a slave? How do you define a slave? A slave is not someone you go to poor country and buy for 10,000, 20,000 and make him your slave and use them like slave. Na'udhu. That's haram in Islam. You can't make a free, azad person a slave. That's not jais. A slave is someone who came in a military expedition in combat to fight you. And he could have killed you if he had his way. But he was overpowered, captured, so he is now a prisoner of war. Now you, prisoners of war, what do people do with prisoners of war? Either they keep them in prison for life imprisonment, or they kill them, finish them off, or they treat them really badly. Islam said, no, they are your brothers. No matter why they came, just keep them in your household, feed them, clothe them, let them come closer to you. See Islam. And if they embrace Islam, they can become Jannatis. And this is exactly what happened. Most of those who were brought as prisoners of war embraced Islam, they became Jannatis. Many of our elders are slaves. Mufassirin, Muhaddithin, Fuqaha, Hassan Basri, his mother, father, both slaves. Muhammad bin Sirin, both his parents were slaves. And others, Ikrimah was slave of Ibn Abbas, Nafi was slave of Ibn Umar. So Islam didn't start off slavery. Islam put restrictions to it and tried its best to abolish it.
The other thing we need to remember, a lot of our knowledge about slavery is about what happened in Liverpool, Africa, and America, which was the slave trade triangle, which was abolished about 2 centuries ago. When Islam found slavery in existence in Arabian society, it put rules so that these slaves were treated like humans. The Prophet ﷺ said, if they've made something for you, give them something to eat. Eat with them. Treated them like humans. If they want to get out of slavery, then offer them a contract. That was called mukataba. Treat them as humans, and they were treated as subhuman, less than humans. And if you'd study the slave trade that was happening in the UK, taking people from Africa to America, or read the book about the African slave trade, then you will find that they were not treated like humans. Islam had a lot of emphasis on treating them like humans, and Islam actually abolished the slave trade.
If you are fasting and doing miswak, the wood of the miswak goes in your mouth, does your fast break? If the wood, bristles, one or two go down your throat in it by itself without any deliberation, right? And it's smaller than a chickpea size, then your rosa doesn't break, right? But if you deliberately take some wood down your throat, then your rosa will break. Are you allowed to have a girlfriend if you intend to marry her? Who asked this question?
Answer is in the question.
Okay, Dr. Zab is saying the answer is in the question. Because you said, allowed to have a girlfriend, right? How can you keep girlfriend? She's a girl. You're a boy, right? Boys should be friends with boys, not friends with girls, right? So be who you are. Don't exceed the limits. Dr. Saab read the ayat, وَمَنْ يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ تِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ فَلَا تَعْتَدُوهَا. Allah has kept some limits, so stick to those limits. Don't exceed those limits. Okay? How do you approach the person of the opposite gender's father if you intend to marry her? You said approach the other person's father, right? So if you want to approach the other person's father, then you should let who approach them? Your father. Why are you approaching her father? You want to marry her and you want to talk to her father, let your father, he's still alive. He can do that for you. He's your wali, right? So let your wali talk to them nicely about, if you can't talk to your dad, you're scared, tell your mom. And your mom will find some way out to talk to your father. And at the right time, appropriate time, when he's in a good mood, your mom will talk to him and then try and put some sense in him. So you have to do the right thing in the right manner.
All British culture is for the male to ask the girl's father for her hand in marriage. That's where this question is coming from.
I didn't know that. Our culture, Asian culture, is we speak to our parents and our parents speak to their parents. And they both get together, decide, see we are suitable, and then they arrange everything, and then everything takes place. What's up? Next question.
Will religious fundamentalism?
Will religious fundamentalism block the development of modern society in the world?
What is religious fundamentalism? Where is this? Fundamentalism, by the way, was a term that was used for those Christian groups who had an objection when modernity, the world changed, when we started going from, in Industrial Revolution #1, started working from farms, went to factories. So, Bob, in your words, Bob. That, what's happening now? We're getting too modern. And that's why you have Amish communities still in America that still use different types of transports, although in their back pocket is the better phone than myself, mobile phones. But they did not want the world to change. So therefore, they were sticking very closely, literally, to the Bible. That's where fundamentalism came from. Then after that, any religious community who closely adhered, followed their religious book, fundamentalism. Now, what is fundamentalism? We need to understand. You are following your faith, you're being a good believer. You're not a fundamentalist. Every Muslim is a fundamentalist because there's certain fundamentals we have to follow. We cannot escape that. Okay. Does it block the development of modern society? There are ulama sat here who teach Hidayah, who teach Sunan Arba, who teach Bukhari Sharif, who teach Muslim Sharif. Within those are chapters which deal with agriculture, which deal with farming, which deal with all kinds of societal issues. When Islam, business, if Islam was blocking progress, why would it discuss all of this? If Islam was blocking all of this, how come Islam was the one who put in a lot of scientific discoveries in, on the back of which we had European Renaissance, and on the back of this you get your phone today? Islam has never blocked progress. We need to understand this. Islam has always allowed progress. Where that progress is leading an individual away from Creator, Islam will have guidance for you.
So we have said, what is fundamentalism? Holding on to principles, holding on to the way of our beloved Prophet ﷺ and the way of Sahaba Kiram. Now, did they progress while holding on to the principles and usul and rules and regulations or not? You tell me. Of course they progress. So if we also hold on to our principles, we will also progress, inshallah. Number 38. What should I do if I get forced into a marriage? Again, Bab. Okay. If you are forced into a marriage, don't agree. No, I don't want to do it. There is a hadith. This Sahabi married his daughter to her cousin and she didn't like it. She didn't agree with it, but he forced her. So she came to Rasulullah and she said, Ya Rasulullah, my dad has done this and I don't like him, I don't want to stay with him. And he gave her the option, yes, you can cancel your marriage, nikah, no problem. Don't stay with him. And then she said, okay, since you said this, I'll agree to it, but I just wanted people to know that the walis don't have the option to force their daughters to marry whom they want. We have right and we have our haqq in agreeing or disagreeing with the proposal they bring. So the answer is, don't agree, don't get married. Say it in a nice way that no, Abba, I can't do this, I'm sorry. And you don't have to, if you're forced into it, you don't have to get married. What's the purpose of reading full 20 rakats Tarawih instead of 8 rakats? How is Tarawih Sunnat if it came after the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Both questions intertwined, बोला था ना आपने, connected. इसका एक तो ये कि first you said it's after the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's wrong. Tarawih was in the time of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. That's hadith in Bukhari Sharif. He prayed 3 nights. And then he was scared that it might become farahs. So he said, pray on your own. And on those 3 nights when he prayed them, Ibn Abbas' riwayat in Ibn Abi Shayba says he prayed 20 rakats. That's where Hazrat Umar got the indication of 20 from. And number 2, you know, Tarawih 20 rakats, if Hazrat Umar initiated it based on what he saw Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam doing, who is Hazrat Umar? Is he like you and me? Who is he? He is from Khulafai Rashidin. And what does the hadith say? Alaykum bi sunnati wa sunnatil Khulafai Rashidin al-Mahdiyyin addu alayha bin nawajiz wa iyyakum wa muhdathatil umur. And it's not only sunnat of Umar. For 10 years of his khilafat, sunnat of Uthman, 12 years of his khilafat, sunnat of Ali, for 5 years of his khilafat, all these years, 20 rakats. So it's sunnatul Khulafai Rashidin, it's sunnat. So we have to pray 20 rakats. 8 rakats is against sunnah. That is muhdathatul umur. That is bid'ah. 1400 years Islamic history says we always pray 20 or more, but nothing less than 20. So to say that 8 is sunnah, 20 is wrong, that is wrong. So correct sunnah is 20 rakat. We have a video of this on our Tafsir Rahimi, but it's in Urdu. Have a look at it. There's more detail in there. If a woman has married more than one man in her life, then who does she get together with in Jannat? Right? For example, her husband died, she married another person, she got divorced, she married another person, she got died, third person, right? Who will she stay with in Jannah? This reminds me of one, story. There is a Sahabiya named Atika bint Abdullah. Her title was Zawjatu Shuhada. She got married to Abdul Rahman ibn Abi Bakr. He became Shaheed. Then she got married to Umar ibn Khattab. He became Shaheed. Then he got married to Zubair ibn al-Awwam. He became Shaheed. So people said, if you want to get Shaheed, marry her. Because whoever she marries gets Shaheed. So that's why she was called Zawjatu Shuhada. Now, who will she stay with in Jannah? So we have said there's two riwayats. One riwayat says she will stay in Jannah with the last husband. And number two, second riwayat says she will get a choice between all the three, whoever she wants to stay with. And there's a third riwayat which I have read in Qurtubi's Tazkira, which says Ahsanuhum akhlaq. She will stay with the one who had the best manners and who treated her in the best way, who she loved more. She will be allowed to stay with that person. 42 now, it's coming to a close now. What's the best advice to give to our young generation to become great in the future terms in terms of deen and dunya? Any special du'as or habits of our pious people like Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab, Rahmatullahi alayhi? Maulana Sahab, can you give some advice on that?
You're going to have to prioritize something. Number one, it's a challenging journey, but end of the day, you will need somebody as your mentor, who you are constantly engaging with, and you're constantly taking your questions of your life to and remain with the guidance. Hazrat Aqdas Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab was a source of inspiration for many of his students who went to him with the challenges of their life as they tried to progress in their professional lives. So one thing is, you're not there out there on your own. Come to Shaykh and ask for guidance. Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab, Rahmatullah alayhi, with his vast oceans of insights and knowledge and acumen, was able to guide individuals. So you need a mentor in your life. That is very important. And as you balance deen and dunya, as you try to balance deen and dunya, somewhere, end of the day, you need a set of values that you never compromise on. That's your red line, that you never compromise on that. And then, inshallah, you'll be able to move forward and do dua. And make dua, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an azilla wa zalla wa dhilla wa dhalla ajhala wa jahla alay. Make dua from Allah. Continue reciting the Holy Quran and read the works of our pious. Inshallah, you'll be fine.
Okay. I was making mashura with Suisab on this. Suisab said, first of all, ta'lim, education. Like Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab. How he studied, how he worked, become Hafiz, how he became Alim, how he went to study Bukhari, Mishkat, Saharanpur, Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullahi alayhi. Educate yourself like he did. Number two, hold on to the ways of our Akabir. Because Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab held on to the way of Akabir. He never moved an inch from the way of the Mashayikh and Akabir. And number three, Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab established Madaris. So make madrasa and benefit the community. And finally, Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Mutala Sahab helped in all the channels and shoba of deen, whether it was tabligh, whether it was khatm nabuwwat, whether it was others, whoever came to him for help, Hazrat helped them, assisted them, gave nice mashwaras to them in whatever way he could. And finally, like Dr. Saab mentioned, make dua. One dua came to my mind when Dr. Saab said dua, very small dua, very nice dua. It's in his Azam. Allahumma rzuqni tayyiban wasta'milni tayyiban.
Allah.
Oh Allah, give me beautiful rizq and use me in a beautiful manner. May Allah use us for His deen. Allah हमको इस्तेमाल कर ले अपने दीन के लिए. So if we are used for the deen of Allah, तो हम successful हो जाएंगे इंशाल्लाह. Next question. What things can we do for family who are basically misguided and not on their deen? Meaning they don't pray, they don't know how to pray, they don't wear hijab, and in general just aren't knowledgeable. But due to circumstances like language barrier, different location, for example, they live in USA where it's hard to communicate knowledge to them, they don't have access to ulama kiram. So what can we do for them? क्या कर सकते हैं उनके लिए खाना? Sufi Sahab said उनसे ताल्लुक कायम रखें. Stay connected to them. Okay, stay on the phone, email, WhatsApp, stay connected. And do whatever you can for their islah, for their improvement, betterment. Give them nice links, bayans, right? Give them links to bayans of Maulana Dr. Mahmood Sahab, nice websites, and tell them go here and listen and benefit. Because in this day and age, the whole world is like a village. Like in a village, everybody knows everyone and everybody can benefit from everyone. Similarly, wherever you live, if you really want to learn and you have that desire, you can learn and you can benefit. There's so much on the internet out there. The internet is both, it's a double-edged sword, good and bad. You can use it for good reason, you can use it for bad reason. So tell them to use internet for good reason and study wherever they are and stay connected to it. You want to say what's up?
Hazrat Maulana has captured everything. Like the Jamaat approach is basically to keep on communicating with them, spend time with them, and wisely and slowly, according to their capacity of accepting knowledge, guide them. And the biggest thing is show the beauty of the Islam you believe in. That's the biggest magnetic force.
What are the best remedies for laziness in general and laziness in ibadat?
Eat less.
क्या कहें Maulana Sahab said eat less, don't eat too much. Don't worry, we got pizza and chips for you now, right? So you can enjoy them. You can eat less after that, but today you must eat. जी Maulana Sahab said eat less. और कुछ advice करो भाई pizza chips आ गई कि नहीं? 5 minutes. चलो ठीक है. ठंडी न पड़ जाएगा. हाँ. Sufi Sahab, I told to Sufi Sahab, he said हिम्मत रखें. बगैर हिम्मत की कुछ नहीं होता. हिम्मत से सुस्ती दूर होती है. Have some courage and aspirations. Aim for high, aim for the best, right? This will get rid of your laziness. Another thing to do is go in tabligh, Jamaat. Because when you go in Jamaat, right, they'll give you a kick up the backside, right? You're sleeping all the time. Talim ka time, this time, muzakara time, bayan time. You have to get up, you have to do 6 number bayan, you have to do elan, right? So this will get rid of your laziness. And also, another thing, buzurgon se ta'alluq rakho. Stay connected to mashayikh. Alhamdulillah, we have about 25 kids over here. Stayed in Etikaf last night, right? So, the kids mess around as well, they won't sleep as well, and they don't let anybody else sleep sometimes. They don't sleep, and they don't let me sleep as well. But kids are kids. We have to overlook their misbehavior. Hey, that doesn't mean you mess around tonight, right? Better go to sleep. So, you have to stay connected to your peers, your elders. And finally, if you want to make dua, there is dua in the hadith. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasal. وأعوذ بك من الجبن والبخل وأعوذ بك من غلبة الدين وقهر الرجال. Oh Allah, I seek your refuge from being unable to do something and from laziness, procrastination. I don't want to be lazy. I seek your refuge from being lazy. I seek your refuge from being unable to do something. Ajz means unable to do something, disabled to do something, from disability. So Allah, keep me able, energetic, healthy, and give me the tawfiq and energy to do everything properly in a proper manner.
You've captured everything, Sheikh.
अच्छा चलो मतलब ये तो आपको कहना पड़ेगा. Finally, last 2 questions. Can you explain what Vision 2030 is, please? I don't know. I'm not going to explain. Why are you asking me?
Vision 2030 of which country? Every country has a bit of a Vision 2030 plan. Vision 2030 is just an idea of a plan. If you're referring to Saudi Arabia has a plan to be less dependent on oil. That's why it's coming up with different plans to make sure that it has, number one, every country, by the way, has human resources. It has things it can sell and make money in different ways. I'll try to keep it as simple as possible. The Saudi Arabia wants to, Allah has blessed it with oil and with other things, that it wants to become less dependent because it's scared that that oil that Allah Rabbul Alamin has naturally provided for them may well run out in the future. So no matter all that it's done, the projection still is, and this was in the Guardian newspaper in 2021, that it's still going to be dependent 75% on oil revenue. In order to bring change, the plan is to make life faster, better, so your Umrah, your Hajj will become more different when you go, the quality of services. Besides that, somebody has to pay for this Vision 2030. And you will find a change. So there will be an area where you find different types of businesses are being grown. And one of the biggest businesses that is grown in the world is tourism. That can be healthy tourism or tourism that Islam will have a problem with. But it brings in money. So there will be a different zone known as the NEOM project. NEOM is based on NEO, N-E-O plus M. Neo means new, and M means mustaqbil, future, new future. Okay, so if you read it, this is on the internet, you can read it for yourselves. There is a amount of silly money, 500 billion plus dollars, that is allocated to this. Then there is a Red Sea project. That's another type of project where you will see on TV the adverts of two lines, parallel lines of flats, and how people are going to live. So the idea is by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia that Saudi will become a bit of a hub. Okay, it'll go to be the Silicon Valley, the tourist center, the place that everybody wants to go with. You'll see a lot of flights going in there. So it's no surprise that Saudi is going to be flying from Birmingham Airport now, Sheikh. Okay, you will hear more of all of this. Saudi will be opening up. You've got your tourist visas. You can travel wherever you are. Then you've got sports coming in. All the boxing is going there now. Formula One wants to go there. They're planning on bringing the World Cup over there. I spent last year in Riyadh for a week. I met with the FA and all of these guys, and I got to see firsthand the amount of investment that is being done in football. Right from grassroots, right to the top. A lot of, then there will be other industries which will bring in money. And you will see all kinds of things happening in Jeddah or Riyadh or whatever. You will see the capital being more Riyadh and expensive. So life will change in Saudi Arabia. And it's to make, because somebody's told them that, like you have here, you can think of tourism different ways to make money. That's a different way to make money and diversify your income. But even then, how much are you going to be dependent on oil? That is the question of all of this.
Jazakallah. That was new to me. Thank you very much for that information, Maulana. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect Saudi Arabia and all Muslim countries around the world. May Allah protect our Pakistan as well, Bangladesh as well, India as well, all Muslims around the world. May Allah protect everyone. Last but not least, final question, please. I would like to ask a question regarding death in Ramadan. If a Muslim that is a family member passes away in Ramadan, are their sins forgiven? Like she's very ill and she's in hospital and she passed away. Also, what about people that are fine but passed away suddenly in the month of Ramadan? Are their sins forgiven and will they go straight to Jannah? Right? Jannah is not mine, Jannah is not yours. I cannot decide who's going in and who's not going in Jannah. All we can do is hope, have hope that inshallah, those who do good will go in Jannah. So, Ramadan is a month of mercy. Now, when Allah is showering His mercy on the living, then Allah feels shy to not shower His mercy on the dead, the deceased. Therefore, if someone dies in the month of Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be extra lenient towards them. They will be protected from the questioning in the grave. They will be relaxed in the grave. However, going straight in Jannah, don't think that they'll go straight in Jannah if you die in Ramadan, because there is Day of Judgment coming ahead of us. And on the Day of Judgment, we have to give hisab kitab, account of our lives, right? Account of everything, and we have to pay if we took someone's money or things. We have to do that hisab kitab, everything on the Day of Judgment before we get to Jannah. So these basharat is for the qabr, that they will be protected from the azab of qabr. They will be shown leniency and rahmat and mercy. Their qabr will become a garden from the gardens of Jannah. Other than that, they will have to do hisab kitab like normal person will give hisab kitab. Even if you pass away in Ramadan, everybody has to go through that. Barabar Musa? Chalo. Dua kar le Musa. Nikalo, short dua. Nikalo na short dua. You are in the big seat.
So you're in the small seat. That's why you should do it. The big microphone. Big microphone.
Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Ya Rahman Rahim, accept our sitting over here.
Ameen.
Allah benefit us all from the Q&A that was delivered. Allah reward Dr. Saab for his effort and time for coming over here and benefiting us with his immense knowledge. Allah, give us true and correct understanding of our deen. Give us correct belief on our deen and keep us strong on our deen and iman. All these youngsters sitting over here, listening at home, Allah, have mercy upon us. Give us a life of taqwa and piety and give us ilm of deen, understanding of deen. And Allah, keep us strong and on our deen and iman till the time of our death. And when our death comes at the last moment, give us death with kalma La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah on our lips. Be pleased with us. Give us all the good things which your beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked from you. Protect us from all those evil sicknesses, illnesses, diseases, bimaris, problems, fitnas, musibat, from which he sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to seek your protection. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى اللهم وسلم على سيدنا